Hello, welcome back to our discussion of JavaScript objects. This time we'll discuss this. So this in C++, Java, and C#. In these languages, this is a reference to the current object. This allows member functions to transparently access data members. Suppose an age property, and we are inside a member function. So age is equal to 33 is the same thing as this.age equals to 33. You don't need to be explicit, but you can be. This, in these languages, is bound at compile time. Therefore, there's very little flexibility for the programmer here. The compiler interprets what this means, and it refers always to the current object. This in JavaScript. This is also a reference to the current object, and it also allows member functions to access data members, but is not implicit, not as transparent. JavaScript requires this to access data members. Suppose an age property, and we are inside a member function. This.age is equal to 33 is the only choice in JavaScript. This is bound at runtime and not compile time. And this is the biggest difference in JavaScript and the sibling languages. In most cases, this in JavaScript will behave like its bound sibling languages, but in this as in other cases, JavaScript is fluid. Runtime binding of this allows the program a lot of flexibility if you understand the pitfalls. So we're going to look at it quite closely. I have 6 examples. They'll probably be delivered in parts. Let's start out with a discussion of member functions in JavaScript and the this reference. All right, so I have my example here, actually 6 examples of the behavior of this in JavaScript. And we'll look at the normal behavior as a member function first. So the other examples are commented out, as you can see. So hit refresh. And over here we have an error here, and we'll take a look at why that error occurred. Okay, so now we have let O, and we're defining a JavaScript object here. This is the literal object literal syntax, equal curly braces in curly braces, and then key value pairs. Property and then property value, property and then property value, or key and then key value, whatever terminology you prefer. I'll use both. All right, this is another property. Say name. It's a function. So this is equivalent to a function expression, like a global settings. Let say name equal. So say name in this case is a colon though instead of the equal sign, and then function. We don't have to have a function name because it's in effect this variable or this property is the current function name. And then we'll show the use of this right here, right? And then in the slides, I said this is required, so that's what we have here. And you can see the error here. Age is undefined, right? It doesn't find it because it doesn't have a this in front of it. So when you're accessing member functions, and this is where JavaScript is very similar to its sibling languages, except that you need to have a this in front of it at all times. Data members pretty much behave as you expect. O.sayname, O.saveAge, that's where we get the problem. But we can fix it by putting this in front of it. And we'll look at that next, and we'll also look at some more of the JavaScript, this behavior. So now we'll look at how this behaves in the context of global functions. So remember, global functions declared right here at the global level. Like say this and this, also say name, very similar. So I repeat at the beginning this object to O2 is equal to this object with these functions. I fixed this problem here, and so they both refer to this. So the say name and say age should work fine. Now I redefine O2 right on the fly. I declare it as a new object, and now it doesn't have any methods. So with that done, I have say this as a global function, but essentially is the same thing as a code. It just does this, and then what this dot first name, and we'll see what happens. Remember, this is a global function now. It's not a member function. It's not inside of an object. We'll see what this behaves like. We have enabled say use strict, and that's important to understand this. And we'll hit refresh. Okay, so as we see, the member functions are both functioning fine now. They both refer to this and functioning pretty much as you'd expect in Java or C#. So now I redefine the object. So I have a new object here, And this time, this object doesn't have any members, member functions. It has two data members, first name and age. So then I have these global functions. So global means it's not surrounded in an object. It's just at the flat context in this text file. Functions say this is a global function, but I'm referring to the this keyword here, and then I call this say this, and then I also call say name. So this is going to say this and give us the contents of the this reference. This is going to say name and give us this dereferenced in first name when we call say name here. So say this and then say name. And we'll refresh the page here, and we'll look at what happened. Let's clear this out, and then we'll refresh. All right, so John, say this is undefined. So that's what this is right here. When it says this is undefined. So the problem is undefined dot. I can print out undefined, but I can't dereference it. Just I can't dereference a null, and that's what causes the throw here. So in strict mode, this is undefined. So think about this. In C#, in Java, and in C++, static functions are essentially functions that don't have a this. They don't refer to an object. So global functions in strict mode in JavaScript are more similar in their behavior to static functions in the sibling languages. They're just not called that. They're global functions in JavaScript. So next we'll take a look at what happens when useStrict is commented out. So a lot of people don't use strict mode in JavaScript, so you need to understand this behavior as well. I'm going to clear this and refresh the page so we get a clear look at this. Okay, so when I say this now, notice that this is not undefined. What it refers to is the outer window. So when we say the global context in JavaScript, what we really mean is in the context of the global window. So we are still in the global context within a JavaScript object called window. It's a fixed one. It's the browser window, and that's what it represents. Notice this global window. We can see what we can find here. Remember, this is the browser's window, and that's our running context. And notice, say name and say this. That's these global function definitions right here. They got registered in the global window. That's what happens to variables that you declare at the global level as well. They get registered in essentially the closing window. So why do you think that useStrict took that away from the programmers? This essentially direct access to the global window through the this pointer. Well, it's so you would make a mistake with it. Essentially, if you're in here and you don't understand, let's say, everything that's going on, suppose you access this and you discover you can write to it, and now you can fill it up with properties. That'll work. But what if you accidentally use a property name that's in window already? Well, we've seen in JavaScript, it's happy to replace it. So you're replacing something that belongs to the browser, and you can get undefined behavior. And that's why in strict mode now, this was changed to an undefined variable and essentially blocking access to it in strict mode. Thank you.